Welcome, everyone. This is actually our first Silicon Valley Forum Fireside Chat. And our guest today is Shreya Mehta. And we'll get into the conversation a little bit. Some quick announcements. The Silicon Valley Forum, we are a California-based 501c3 nonprofit organization. Which is our mission is to foster innovation, entrepreneurship, and leadership in Silicon Valley and throughout the world. We achieve our mission through events, programs, and conferences, and we function as a center of knowledge and connections, covering everything from the latest tech trends to the startup and investment ecosystem. And our activities are aimed to educate, train, inspire, and connect technologists, entrepreneurs, corporates, and investors. We've got some events coming up, some of which are in the Bay Area. For those of you in the Bay Area, this Saturday morning, as part of the annual California Coastal Cleanup Day, we'll be participating over at the Aviso Marina Cleanup in San Jose, the Aviso neighborhood. October 4th, I will be in Lisbon, Portugal, and we'll have an event to meet with some startup founders. On October 22nd, the Silicon Valley Forum is going to collaborate with StarTides, which is another organization that I am with, on a fireside chat titled Accelerating Your Digital Health Transformation. And we'll be talking to Dr. Milton Chen, who's got a publicly traded small company. We have a Silicon Valley Forum event with founders in Honolulu on November 1st, and we will be hosting our annual State of the Tech Sector luncheon in Sunnyvale on December 18th, as well as into the new year, an event on the day before CES in Las Vegas, Nevada on Monday, January 6th. And Silicon Valley Forum will be participating in the 18th annual StarTides Capabilities Demonstration in Arlington, Virginia in April. And there's a follow-on event that we do inside the Pentagon Center courtyard on April 16th or 17th. And we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and I want to thank all our supporters for their generous support. So over to our conversation with Shreya. I had the pleasure of meeting Shreya several years ago. Just seems like yesterday, but I was going back, and it's been a while. Shreya will begin our conversation and her remarks about her background and what led her to what she's doing today. But I met Shreya when she was an MBA student at Seattle University, and I used to live in Seattle for over 20 years. We were both involved in a company called CareerLight, and we were working with international students in the United States to kind of help them prepare with the job search and really what do companies look for, the resume building, the LinkedIn building, and the networking. A lot of international students and international workers in the United States, from my experience, really struggle with the networking component. And so Shreya worked with us, and then after she graduated, has gone on to do some amazing things. So the purpose of today is to really go deeper into some of the job search techniques and best practices that Shreya has developed over the years. And this really is an open conversation. I'll pose some conversations or some questions to Shreya, but it's really an open forum. I know we have people joining us from all over the world. I see we've got a couple of people from Botswana in Southern Africa. So good evening to you in Botswana. And I think we've got possibly some people over in Shreya's home country of India. So we got people from all over the world. And then we'll conclude today's remarks with some best practices that Shreya is kind of a summary. So, Shreya, welcome, and give us a little bit about your background and what led you up to what you're doing today, and go a little bit deeper of what you're doing today.
Okay, perfect. First of all, hi to everybody, and thank you, Aaron, for that quick rundown to the memory lane because now even I can't remember for how long we've known each other. But to everybody who's listening, officially, unofficially, Aaron is and has been one of my first mentors in US. And then we met when I got into my MBA program, which was again years ago. But then to start from the start, I've been in US for over 8 years, and when I came here, the idea of networking, meeting with new people, just setting up for just the setting up the room for myself as a professional was very, very difficult. But then once I got into the MBA program, the confidence, the communication, a lot of things really helped me to be where I am today. And then that's when me and Aaron got an opportunity to work on Career Light, and both of us were like really passionate about the idea that everybody who has a skill set should also know how to share that, right? And then that's what we kind of started working on, that if you have the skill set, if you have the technical knowledge, let's work on the confidence, let's work on the storytelling piece of it. Fast forward to today, I've been a recruiter in multiple companies: Microsoft, Amazon, TikTok, Uber. And currently, I'm working full time as a coach. I have a company, it's called the Super Coach. We work with a lot of clients, job seekers, professionals who are looking for their next best opportunity. What we work on specifically is again confidence, communication, and a lot on storytelling piece of it. Again, the idea is to al- almost all of us have a lot to share. All of us have some talent, skills that we have. We just don't know how to show that in front of an interview or recruiter. And then that's exactly what we do usually. But it takes a lot as a job seeker, as a recruiter, now as a coach, and I bring all of that to the perspective when we speak. I'm extremely passionate in general about growth, networking, and then just putting your best foot forward, and that can be different in different opportunities. But I'm super excited for all the conversations. Aaron already said that we are joining from multiple places. I see a couple of names, Aaron, which I think I know them, but I want to believe I know them. But then again, ask your questions in the chat. Aaron has been putting information in the chat, so keep an eye out for that. And I'm very excited for all the conversations that we're going to do for the next 45 minutes, Aaron.
Thank you, Shreya. And so let's start off. There is a lot of mixed messages about the effectiveness. I'm going to kind of throw three questions into one. Um, Mixed messages about the use of LinkedIn. Um,
Mm,
and how effective is LinkedIn in finding a job? I still subscribe, kind of, showing my age. It's really not what you know, is who you know. And I know there's a couple of people on this call who come from that generation of relationships. So I don't know, you know, if younger folks, if it's still network driven, if LinkedIn, candidly, I'm connected to thousands of people on LinkedIn. I might be able to recognize no more than 200 if I pass by them on the
mm-hmm,
street. So there's the kind of the obscurity of LinkedIn.
mm,
I had posted, as anyone who follows me on LinkedIn knows, I'm a very avid reader of The Economist. The Economist had a great
mm,
article a week ago that really, it was more of a satire article, but about the cover letter. And I'm
yeah.
still surprised how many people, how many employers and recruiters are requesting a cover letter when it's kind of a nonsense. And now with Chat GDP. So there's the issue of the
Mhm,
cover letter, is it important? Does it matter to you, Shreya? Does it matter to other recruiters? What's your advice on the cover letter? The resume, I think same thing. I come from a generation where it really was a one-page resume. I could not, if my life depended on it, put my resume to 1 pages. Now it's 6 pages, and I think 6 pages is way too long. But there is
mhm,
the issue of the resume. Um, and then the other thing that comes down to is back to the networking and,
yeah.
and how important is that? And COVID changed a lot. And you
Yeah.
started your career pre-COVID. And so I'd like to kind of you talk about, what are the best practices today as far as, the networking and the relationship building. So a few questions there about, and I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, perfect. Um, I took my notes because Aaron, I remember the first meeting I went into when I was meeting you for an interview, and I came with a paper and pen, and you were like, "Are you going to take notes?" And I was like, "Probably yes." And that's what we connected on. I'm always a note-taking person, and as soon as you said there are going to be multiple questions, I was like, "I'm going to write it all down now." Okay, so first things first. So you spoke about LinkedIn and networking. I'm going to attach both of them a little bit. So see, earlier we knew somebody before COVID, right? Either we would know people, we would meet them in offline events, coffee chats, just conferences, workshops, and whatnot, right? That was our idea of networking and that presence that people would know you by your name, by your face, by what the work profile, and all of those things. LinkedIn for me, it's exactly that, but just in the digital world, right? So that is your digital profile. So whatever you do on LinkedIn, people are always watching, reading, engaging, commenting. So that's your way of engaging with people. I always say that ways a lot of our long distance relationship, families, friends, um, everybody that we connect with on Facebook or other social medias, exactly that thing, but then we're doing that via LinkedIn, right? But then more professional. So don't take it as like more intimidating. You have to be poised, you have to be very, very professional all the time. You have to be very authentic, real, and show what you bring to the table. And that can be multiple perspective, right? It doesn't always have to be everybody's saying market is really tough, and here I am saying on LinkedIn market is not tough. If you are the right candidate, you would get picked, right? They are hiring somebody out of those 500 applicants. Why are they not hiring you? So figure that out. So LinkedIn for me, I actually got my Uber position through LinkedIn. I never applied to it. Somebody reached out to me and then they were like, "Hi, can we have a conversation? I'm looking for a recruiter." And I was very happy at TikTok, and I was like, I'm not looking for a position, but if you give me more details, I'll post it and somebody else might need it. But then when we started having a conversation, they really loved me and then they tweaked the compensation around and I could be a part of it. So I did get a lot of my positions through that. And LinkedIn and networking really goes well because one, for especially for people who are not very extrovert or ambivert for that matter, you can actually have conversation in audio events, you can have conversations over DM, you can have conversations through comments, just engage with the content. But that is your idea of setting up credibility, that I can do a lot more than what my profile shows, and I have a lot more brains than what I've put into my projects, like especially for fresh graduates. It's extremely important to put it out there because they have done a lot of projects, let's say five in their academic career and let's say three in their professional internship career, but then there's so much more that they know. And then that engagement, those DMs, those coffee chats that they get through LinkedIn would actually take their networking to the next level. Now, what do you do on LinkedIn that actually would make you stand out? One, make sure that you have a photo, you have a great headline, and the headline can't be like searching for job from May 2024 or MBA student at Seattle University. I would rather write down what is my expertise as an MBA student or what is the next role that I'm kind of looking at, right? Which is then very helpful so that whosoever is looking at my profile, they're only not thinking of me as an MBA student, they're also thinking of me as a professional, and this is how I want people to remember me. Whenever you're having DMs or having a conversation over DMs, remember that you are one, there is an ask, and second, there is a similar ground that you guys are chatting on, right? It a familiar ground. It can be university, it can be topics, it can be content that they posted, it can be the place, it can be the university they've been part of, anything that you think is similar. And this is gold. Whatever I'm saying right now here, you guys, always remember the message should be about them first and then about you second. So for an example, if somebody would tell me that, Shreya, I love what you've done, can you give me some tips and tricks on how did you land at Uber? Now I can connect with it a little bit more because the story is going to be about me rather than just about them. So then it's a good conversation starter. Even if you would get the best tips out of it, make sure it is a little bit about them first and then you start warming up that relationship. um, and don't just go to that person specifically when you need a referral or when you need something. Keep those relationship forms, and that is why it's extremely important to be present and be there on LinkedIn for a longer period of time. One, there is knowledge. Second, there is network. Third, I feel like that's just a free platform that you can just build your profile on, and then let recruiters, interviewers, job seekers, industry experts come to you for multiple things. I have got like more than 7 or 8 podcast opportunities just through LinkedIn and networking, right? And I love sharing my story. Like you've known me for like almost all these years. You know that I love sharing my story, right? So that is my idea of LinkedIn and networking together. And we'll talk about offline networking in a little bit. Um, is LinkedIn efficient? Okay, give me an idea in chat, or I don't know if there's a raise hand thing. How many of you all use LinkedIn for job search? I'll probably raise my hand as well because I use LinkedIn all the time for all the opportunities. See, I see one, two, three, right? So there are people who do it. Great, great, perfect. Thank you, you guys. Thank you. If you're using that, always come from an idea of credibility and authority and not just a job seeker. Remember, what are you offering as a professional? See, I've been in job search, right? Because I've switched companies if you look at my profile. But I've always come from a fact that I bring in so much to the table. Anybody who would take me would be lucky to have me. If you come from that belief, that credibility, then whatever you're writing out there, howsoever you're positioning yourself out there, would be extremely important. And all other things that people say, can I write open to work? Yes, you can write. Can I create a post around I'm open to work? Yes, you can do that. Can I go and tell people that I'm looking for a job, and can I ask for referrals? Yes, you can be polite about it, just don't be very very direct about it. But there are a lot of people who are open for that. And then we can take more questions on LinkedIn specifically if you have any. um or do you want me to pause for LinkedIn questions before we move to cover letter, Alan?
Well, actually, yeah, let's not lose the other questions, but Pooja raised a question which I get asked, but I'll have you take the first answer, is that what notes can be taken when going for an interview as a candidate? And I think what when I talk with people, they're surprised that you're even are allowed to take notes. And so my question, my response, of course you can take notes, but Shreya, do you want to answer the question first?
Yeah, I can answer that because then that will clarify. Yes, you can always take notes when you are interviewing on audio or video. Just let them know when they're about to start that, hey, I'm just letting you know that I would be scribbling a little bit just to take notes, to make sure that one, I don't skip a point, and second, also to make sure that I can share all the thoughts that I have right now. Or if you have a couple of questions, I would be taking notes. It's always just good to let them know, because as an interviewer, they would also be taking notes, right? So as an interviewee, you should also be taking notes. Just let them know so it doesn't look like that either you're busy or you don't have the concentration, or you're doing multitasking, or you're buffering when you're speaking. But when you're taking notes, please don't forget that you're also listening to them. So if you're not great at multitasking, first listen to the whole question and then write it down. Don't miss out on the question because you were so busy writing it down in the most beautiful handwriting.
Yeah, let me answer it because I've been an employer for a long time, and of course, as an employer, I'm going to take notes just based on what the candidate is responding to, and and I'm going to have a copy of the resume. That's another thing, is it we still live in a world that you show up to an interview and how many copies of resume should you have? Should you bring copies of a resume? I think that's questions to you, Shreya, but my expectation is that I'm either going to print off a copy of the resume prior to the meeting, to the interview. But it's always good to bring an extra copy, the candidate should bring. But yeah, I'm going to take notes. Uh, but as a employer, I've been in situations where the candidate has called me or emailed me afterwards and said, "Oh, I forgot, you said, did you say this?" or "I forgot that." That doesn't look good on me. I mean, I don't mind clarification, but to me, take notes. That way you don't forget, and it's efficient. So, all right. So, Shreya, go ahead. We've got more questions, but actually, go ahead and answer Andrew, who's in Botswana, and then go to the cover letter and whatnot. But is it best to apply for a job directly LinkedIn or go to the company page and apply for it through the corporate website?
I love that question, right? So, whenever there's a choice between applying through LinkedIn or going to the company website, I would always go to the company website and apply through that. I would save a little bit about the job description that I think is important to remember specifically for that role. Second, I would make sure that I'm not applying to the easy apply because sometimes when you apply through the easy apply, your resume sits as just a huge um, a paragraph of text. Like it does not go as resume, it does not go as a PDF, it does not go the way it's formatted. It actually just goes as a huge text paragraph of text, and a lot of ATS can't read it, and then a lot of humans like recruiters and interviewers can't read it properly as well. So you might be losing some opportunities there. And then if your resume has some symbols, emojis, signs, and all of that, again ATS can't read it and it's just going to stand as a black box. I would always do it through the company website. I mean, it would take probably 5 seconds extra for you all, but do it through the company website.
I don't want to lose track of my previous question, but let me do a follow-up.
Yeah.
Should should it through LinkedIn, it's easy, fairly easy to find out who is the hiring manager. You could,
Hmm.
because generally now it says this posting has been posted by this individual.
Mhm.
Should should the prospective candidate actually try to connect with that person on LinkedIn? And if they should, what's the messaging? How should they go about it?
Okay, so that's a great question again. So if you're trying to connect with the hiring manager, a couple of things. One, they might not reply legally. A lot of the interviewers are not supposed to interact with the candidate until they have an idea of if they are hiring or not hiring. Second, the best idea would be if you've already interviewed or have a if you've already spoken with the recruiter, then you can go ahead and write that down in the DM that, hey, I had a conversation with name the recruiter and on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we are scheduled to speak on Wednesday or Friday or whatever. So like give them an idea of like why are you reaching out to them? Why does that DM even exist in their DM? And then tell them that I'm super excited. I love the career trajectory you have, or I love your work at X company and I'm looking forward to speak with you. Again, make it about them, right? Don't make it about you that I had a great conversation with the recruiter and then I'm looking forward to talk to you. Rather say that this is what I have done already. That means I've spoken to the recruiter, I'm looking forward to speak to you, and these are the things that I'm excited to talk about. But again, I really want to add this, Aaron. They might not reply. Even if they read the DM, they might not reply. Legally, a lot of companies do not allow interviewers to interact because then it can look like you're biased because you've had a conversation with them before.
Very good. I know there's a couple of people that are senior in their careers, and so they may not know what DM is, but DM is direct message. So it's the
Okay.
just so
Thank you.
we cover everything. All right, we've got more questions. Well, let's go back to the cover letter and the
Yep.
structure of the resume.
Okay, perfect. So your question for the cover letter was that should we be actually using cover letter and is it important? Do recruiters use cover letter and read cover letter, right? So I would say a lot of companies make it compulsory to have a cover letter, so it's mandatory in the application. And I know a lot of job seekers would agree with that, that without a cover letter, they actually can't post an application or update an application. But there are, I would say, 80% of the companies who don't care about cover letters. It's okay if you don't have it. And a lot of recruiters and interviewers in the back end don't read it. I honestly, in all these years of my recruiting career and with all these bigger companies, I've never read a cover letter or I've never accepted or rejected a candidate because of the cover letter. Right. So I personally would not say that recruiters and interviewers read about it. But if it's mandatory, then I would definitely suggest that you all make the best use of it so that you are highlighting what is your expertise, what do you bring to the table, and if there are any transferable skills, if you're trying to switch industry, if you're trying to switch roles, moving from one field to another, you definitely should use that cover letter. But if it's mandatory, I mean, then we have nothing to suggest. You'll have to write it down. Just make the best time, like just make the best version of it because might as well. But if it's not mandatory, I would not spend more than an hour on drafting a, a cover letter, Aaron.
Very good. And in the resume, I guess part of it is again, simple question, one page, multiple pages, of the resume, really, what's the most important section, that's at the
Mm.
top of the resume, with the objective statement, yes or no on the objective statement, Where does education fall in? I just read something on LinkedIn. I'm probably the fourth most active person on LinkedIn. I would say you, and then I've got my friend Carl Weaver up in Seattle, who's also incredibly active on LinkedIn, and a few others. But is the so the article I just read said that unless you're a recent college graduate, the education should be at the bottom. That it's the skills section, which includes technical skills as well as soft skills, including language skills. I think a lot of people neglect the language skills. No matter what the political rhetoric is, the world is flat, and we do live in a globalized society. So there's that aspect. I'll leave it there. Over to you,
Yeah.
Shreya.
Yeah, yeah. So this is great direction to the conversation, Aaron. So I would say one page versus two pager. I usually say that if you have 10 plus years of experience, two pages make sense because then how are you going to fit all of that in one page, right? But sometimes a lot of us who have not related work or something where we transition completely from one industry to another and have opted for something that we've never done. So in India, I was a finance manager. I came here, I became a recruiter, right? So in my resume, you would not see a lot of finance related things at all. Even when I first applied for my first job in recruiting, I didn't put a lot of my finance information. Most of it was what I did during my 2 years at NBA, right? So if it's not relevant, I would probably not put all of these information. So my funda as a coach and as a recruiter right now, if you have 10 or less years of experience, you should be able to fit that in one page. Again, if everything is very, very relevant. But if you think it needs more explanation, there are more processes. I need to, tag down all the stakeholders. I need to write down 15 certifications that I've done in the last 10 years. Then it can go to 1.5 pager. Now, why there is a fight of like one and two? Because people don't understand those two pages are not that you have to explain every process that I went to the manager, got the approval, it got approved, then I did the project. People write a lot, which I think takes away the essence of resume, which exactly is what have you done and show me the impact. Now, my favorite thing about resume bullet point is AI. Everybody knows the artificial intelligence. I have my own version of AI, which is action and impact. Every bullet point should have an action, and each bullet point should have an impact at the end of it. If you don't have that, when a recruiter interviewer is skimming through it, so all of us know we have like 6 seconds or 30 seconds to read a resume, right? And then we decide, do we want to read it further? When I'm reading that for 6 seconds, if I fall on a bullet point which is not important for me at all, I'm just going to think, oh, a couple more, and then I would see, I'm going to assume like the whole resume does not have any impactful experiences, which is absolutely untrue, right? Because if you're applying to something, then I'm guessing you have something. But make sure that each bullet point has some impact and some action into it. That's how, when I skim through, I would make sure that I'm reading something which is important. So that's one and two. Now let's come to the section pieces of it. So what you're calling objective, we usually now call it summary. That means just give me an idea of like your work experience over the years, 10 plus, 5 plus, whatever that looks like. A lot of people who are like fresh graduates who have less than 3 plus years of who have less than 3 or less experience, I usually say not to write a summary. But again, if you're transitioning from something that you've done before versus now you're starting absolutely something new, talk about the transferable skills because then the recruiter needs to know that you are bringing something to the table, even if the following work experience does not make sense to them, right? So my idea of section would be your name, your contact details. Your LinkedIn should always be there if you have GitHub or any other website, landing pages, portfolio, link that to your resume right under your name, and then your summary, then your skill section. And you were absolutely right about it that you should have your skill section, and then your work experience, any other certifications, honors, and awards that you've got, and then your education. Now, if you've recently graduated, that means one last year is what when you graduated 12 months. I would still put my education up at the top because university recruiting team can still hire you and look for you because a lot of university recruiting team are looking for candidates who have graduated now or a year before the date, right? So I would still put that education out there. Now, when you're putting that education, if you have been a part of some clubs, if you've done something extracurricular, if you've been in the dean list, if you've got some scholarship, you should write that. And again, if you're right now a graduate student, then you should definitely write all of that, because that somehow sums up to an idea that you've had some leadership skills or you've had some work experience while you were working or while you were studying. So it's not a complete gap or a complete break, or you do not have an idea of any of the corporate work experience or any work experience for that matter. Now, that being said, what do you write down in the summary? Everything again that makes you a star candidate. That means, why do you think somebody should hire you? So if I would were have to write, I would probably write, I'm great at writing training and modules, I'm great with candidate experience, I'm huge on employer branding, and above all that, I'm great with the stakeholder management, right? Again, I picked up things that a recruiter should be doing and then leveled up a little bit, right? So what makes me an expert? So that should be your summary. When it comes to skill, Aaron, I usually say anything from level 1 to level 10 should be there. That means level 1, that means I've only used it for one project. Share, should I be, should I even put it in the resume? 100% yes, because you don't know if they're looking at level 1 or they're looking at level 10, right? What if they're only looking at somebody who has an idea and then they can actually train them more on that? So put everything in their skills. Those are also the keywords that the interviewers are trying to find you with, and the same keywords should be there on your LinkedIn as well. Work
Very
experience we did
good.
speak about. Yeah, work experience we did speak about. Action and impact. Certification is anything again that you think is very, very relevant to the roles that you're currently looking at. And also keywords. Do not forget keywords. Problem solving, detail oriented are not keywords, you guys. Better keywords for the role. Um, Specifically for the technical keywords, I would not want you all to miss any keywords, because you don't know what they're looking at. Only recruiters and unfortunately, the team knows what the keywords are, right? So you would have to put probably everything.
Let's go a little bit deeper into that with these, and I forget what the term is, but these auto reader, auto generators, you mentioned keywords. How
Yeah.
important
ATS.
is what? Say again.
ATS, application tracking systems.
Okay, application tracking systems, ATS.
Yeah.
So I've never used one as an
Mm-hmm.
employer, um, but I know many companies do, particularly the big companies. The big companies
Yeah.
do. I
Yeah.
recognize that. So, and it kind of goes, and there was a question here that said, it kind of makes me think of it as well. I'm trying to go back to the questions. Um, Here we go. The question was asking for referrals because it kind of made me think of that. Important in getting rid of the reply, and the job might close before the referral goes through. How to tackle this and avoid missing out on the opportunities because of this. And
Yeah.
so they're two separate questions, but in my mind they're kind of connected because one is you're applying through a system that's using ATS,
Mm,
and I think a lot of people complain that that's just a big black hole. And
mm,
so
mm,
you
mm,
might have an incredible resume and feel that you are the compelling candidate, but
mm,
somehow the system blocks you. So how do you overcome that? And then also to the question of referrals,
mm.
is that a way to how to utilize referrals and effectively? I'll leave it there.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about the referrals first, right? One is the day you all decide that I'm going to be a job seeker from today, everybody who knows you should know that you're job seeking, right? That means your friends, your family, your cousins, people you've not spoken to for 100 years, I don't care. Go speak with them, tell them that you are a job seeker, make sure that you know what companies they are at, would they be open to refer you when the need arise. That's one thing. That means warming up the already existing network. That's first step that you should be doing, because then it's minimum effort, minimum discomfort, and it's not intimidating because you somehow know these people. That's step one. Second, when you're trying to reach out to somebody who's a stranger, so let's say LinkedIn, let's say networking events and all of that, what do? First, step back and decide what companies and industries are you looking at. So if you have an idea of these are the companies and these are the industries that I'm looking at, then I would go and start connecting with these people gradually. So don't wait to connect only when you need a referral, because a lot of people, Aaron just said that we probably 4 5 people are super active, but then not everybody's active on LinkedIn, right? So what if they don't see the message for the next 7 days? right? You've asked for a referral today, they're not refusing, accepting, rejecting. They're literally not there. They haven't read the message. What are you going to do now? Wait for an eternity? No, right? So I would say keep it warm. That means understand the industry and company you'll want to be a part of. Then start connecting with these people. Don't connect to with only recruiters. Recruiters usually do not refer employees or candidates. I mean, for them, it doesn't make sense. It can come under bias as well. So don't try finding referrals through recruiters only. Try finding referrals through people who've recently joined the company or people who've done an internship there because they might have a network. And third, and the most important, people who are in the same field or same area, you would try to connect with them and keep them warm. Now, my idea of keeping them warm again goes back to the first thing that we spoke about. Speak about them first, speak out about their career trajectory, and then start talking about like how much, what are you trying to do right now, and where can they help in those tips and tricks. And then once you see the position, then ask for the referral. That's the first case where you haven't seen the referral just yet. Now imagine you've seen a referral and then you have nobody there. What do? What do I do? First, tap on everybody that I know. Again, my comfortable spot, my comfortable network, my people. Hi, I'm looking for a job at Walmart. Does anybody know anybody? I need it by tomorrow night, or I need it by today. Out of maybe 10, Aaron, I get like 6 times I do get a response saying that I do know somebody to send me the resume, right? Because I do that for my clients right now. But if you don't, out of the rest four things, you still go on LinkedIn, find 10 people at least from the company, reach out to them saying a DM that, hey, I'm sorry, I want to be very direct. I saw this position, which I think is perfect. Give them the ID, give them your resume, and tell them, would you be open to refer me for that? Do it for all 10 people. One of them would get back to you and be like, happy to do that, right? If three gets back and you're like, thank you so much for responding, I really appreciate it. One of my family members, do not tell them that somebody from the same company did. Just say that, hey, I could find someone from my own network to do it, but I really appreciate you responding. I would reach out to you again if I need another referral, or I'll keep you posted about how this goes. Again, you're building that connection. But do not put, how do you say it, all your eggs in the same basket, right? So again, that's how we come back to networking and LinkedIn, Aaron, right? If you're keeping it warm, if you're active, if you're engaging, these people would know that, it's okay if she's asking for something right now because we've had some conversation before that. Ask is not the first thing that she's doing.
Excellent. Let's take
ATS.
the
Okay, I have an
yeah,
ATS question,
ATS.
but yeah, but if you have a referral question, we can take that, or we can go to, I
No,
have in my notes says ATS.
let's talk about ATS.
Okay, so let's talk about ATS. So application tracking system or applicant tracking system is literally how we track everything, right? In the backend. That means once you all apply to it, we all see who has applied, when, what is the resume, what are they trying to say. So it's kind of your profile building at the backend, right? Now, I really want to clear that myth that no ATS is rejecting you. 99% a human must have gone through that resume, liked it or not liked it, right? So if they've not liked it, you've got the rejection. It looks like an automated system because no recruiter, one, legally, we're not allowed to give any feedback, right? Most of the recruiters, interviewers are legally not allowed to give feedback until unless they have a conversation. Second, a lot of us do not send customized message because then it'll look, then it'll not be uniform. Then we're treating candidates differently, and we can't again do that. And we should not be doing that on the human grounds, right? Third and most important, it usually looks like it comes back from a system because Aaron, if I put my name out there and if I put my email out there, a lot of people have responded back by saying that, why the hell did you reject my resume? It is the perfect, do you not know your job? Or they would reach out to me on LinkedIn and be like, are you stupid? And I was like, no, I'm not. Maybe you are because you're burning that bridge with me right now, right? Like, I'm literally doing my job and n- this is not working, right? So that's why a lot of recruiters don't put it out there. So again, ATS probably is not rejecting, a human is rejecting it. Now, one, because it's not what they are looking for. Second, because they've already found somebody and now they have to reject everybody else, right? There can be only two good reasons for that. Now, going back to how to make sure that the ATS is not rejecting, ATS only rejects it and it doesn't actually reject it, but ATS is sometimes unable to read your resume when you have, like I said earlier, resumes have emojis, symbols, or weird things, right? Which again the system can't read. And that's why a lot of us say create a very classic resume. Just text, no tables for that matter. You don't need a table telling me that this is how much you got in your high school, this is how much you got. If you're applying to a corporate role, like any internship roles also, you look at a table is not required. You can just write down your education as a paragraph and we'll be okay to read it. And always, always, always submit that in a PDF. If you're doing that, if you're submitting to a company website, always PDF. Usually only the consultancies ask for a Word document because then they want to tweak it a little bit before they submit it to the vendor. But if you're doing it directly on a company website, always PDF, because then it doesn't mess up with the format of your resume. It stays exactly the same and it's easy for me to read it. Make sense? Okay. And to the two things. Third thing, filtering it. How do we filter through ATS? Now I have 500 applications, right? How do I filter through that? I would look at the keywords. Keywords is a keyword for today, you guys. I would look at the keywords and then I would start selecting. See, humanly, it's not possible for me to look at 500 applications in a day, right? And it's unfair for you all because imagine once I reach the 100th applicant, how irritated and annoyed I would be with my own life. And that is not going to sit well for a candidate. So, what I usually do is I'll try filtering out all those 500 with the keywords that I want: SQL, product roadmap, stakeholder management, and it can look different for different BI, dashboards, reporting, whatever that looks like. And then I get those 100 applicants and then I start searching through that 100 applicants and I do the same thing with a different bunch and a different bunch of keywords. Now, that's exactly why we tell you, one, make sure it's readable, because if I can't read the keywords, ATS can't read the keywords, and your resume would not pop up in the filter. Second, if the ATS is unable to find the word in the filter process, your resume would not pop up. I would not call you for a call. Um, so don't think again that you've done everything but you're not getting shortlisted. There is something that you've not done, and that's why we're missing that point. Good to go, Erin.
Very good points. Very good points. We've got someone who's actually says they're in India, so it's 2:15 in the morning there.
Hi,
So,
Ankita. Yeah.
so very good. But the question really, it's an interesting. This person works for a company, U.S.-based company in India, and it's really a
Mhm.
question about uh, if they're connected on LinkedIn with colleagues and with and their supervisors or bosses.
Hmm.
Um, what's the risk of that? What is how do you post? You know, I remember the days of Facebook. When Facebook first came out, you
Yeah.
connected with everyone. And then it
Yeah.
was, and then I remember employers and managers, wanting to connect with, their employees because they wanted to, share baby photos together and pictures of their dogs
Yeah.
and cats. And,
Yeah.
but it became difficult. And then you had to learn how to block without,
Mm.
showing that you're blocking your manager. Uh, Facebook has done a pretty good job in blocking. LinkedIn, best to my knowledge, has not done it. You have to, you can unfollow them, but they can still see. And if it's blocked, it's very clear that they've been blocked. So,
Yeah.
so how, so, in a general sense, what should a person be posting on LinkedIn?
Mm.
LinkedIn has, again, showing my age, LinkedIn has kind of become a hybrid between professional and personal.
Okay.
People post a lot of personal things on LinkedIn
Mm.
that I'm old fashioned, thinking, that's not really LinkedIn appropriate. That's Facebook. But it is, how do you deal with that? What advice do you have for people who are concerned about posting things
Mm.
that their employees may, their colleagues may see, their employers may see? How do you
Yeah.
navigate those challenges?
Yeah, and then that is very, very real because a lot of my job seeker clients also come and be like, I don't want anybody to know that I'm job searching. So, like, what do I do now, right? You don't have to post, you guys. To engage, to be visible, you don't have to post. You just have to go and engage with other people's post, and that you can do as an employee also. So, go to other industry experts' pages, and then everybody almost added, and you know that everybody almost is a content creator now, right? People are writing left and right. So you can find those people where one, the thought processes meet, the value system meets, the idea of what you think market is going, where the market is going, that meets. And then that's where you start connecting with them by commenting on their post. It would not come back to the legal system of your company or would not come back to your boss, because now you're not doing anything. You're not only interacting with recruiters, you're not only interacting with some company leadership or like some management from the other company. You're just creating networking and relationship building through LinkedIn. That is a good way, because even if they see, they would see like harmless comments, right? But they would see, yes, there is no way, like even if you block them, somebody else would show. Like how many people are you going to block, right? Somebody else would see and show. Now when we're talking about it, Aaron, I really feel like my Instagram and my family members, because I've probably blocked everyone, but then somebody sends a screenshot to somebody else and we like, is this what Shrey is doing? And I was like, oh my god, one more person to block. So I think the chain would go on. So blocking might not be the best idea, because somebody would see something on LinkedIn about you and then would give it to some, your boss or your teammates. That is not going to sit well. But start with harmless commenting, start with a lot of DMing people, start with a lot of coffee chats for that matter, because that is how it'll become easier for you to just slide in, like how people say, just slide in there um, without creating content. I'd say it again, creating content is not the only way you connect with people. I have been in multiple audio events, and then that's where I connect with people. That means I'll go to the audio event, I'll look who are the audiences, because if I'm in an audio event which interests me, and if there are other people, that means it interests them also. That means there is something common, right? Then I would reach out to them and be like, hey, I saw in that audio event, it was great. How did it sit for you? What were your takeaways? I would love to have a conversation around it. And like that, people would be ready to have a coffee chat. We can start building those relationships again, finding a similar ground and then making it about them. What did you like? What were your takeaways, right? um, it doesn't have to be content creation, and you don't have to be out there. I felt a little attacked when you say that people post a lot of personal stories. I am very, very guilty. I wrote about my Everest base camp. I wrote about how I lost a job. Wrote about how I got it back. I wrote about how the 8 months of break was not a very happy time for me. But all of this is because you're building resilience, and that is bringing the best out of you as an employee, as a candidate also. If you can't post something like what I'm doing, find people like me who are posting about it and engage, because now everybody who's engaging with my content would see you also as an individual, as a candidate, as a professional. And then that's where you can start again the same journey. Hey, I saw your DM in Shreya's content and I love what you posted and I think I relate so much with it, so would love to connect with you. Again, familiar ground, make it about them.
Excellent. We've got 10 minutes left. I want to cover a couple more questions and then shift tactic a little bit here. So one, I think you addressed this, is that what can be written in a cover letter? Is it just, cover the points that's not repetition from the resume? If I can actually answer this as an employer, I've always appreciated when with the cover letter when I've received them. As an employer, I'm trying to fill a seat, and let's say the table is 10 seats and 9 are occupied. I've got to fill one seat, and I've got to figure out who among 20, 30, 40 candidates is best to fill that seat. So my perspective is I want to know what a person's going to do for my company. And so I have found that the cover letter is representative of that, is that this is what I can do. These are the skills I bring to the table. This is what makes me unique and better than every candidate out there. And by the way, proof of what I can do for your company is found in my resume by what I've done for other companies, for other projects and whatnot. So that is my approach. But again, that might be kind of old school. How do you? I know you touched on it a little bit, but specifically, what is the content of the cover letter, and how does it become non-repetitive from the resume?
But I love what you said, Aaron, and I think you did cover almost everything that I would have said. I would just describe that into three sections. One is who are you, what do you do, or what have you done, and how are you going to change the role, or how are you going to fit in the role that you're currently applying to, right? So three of these things. That means who are you, what have you done, what are you offering, and then how are you offering it for this current role. So the idea exactly is what Aaron said right now, which is you just showing them that what do you bring to the table, right? Why do you think you're a good fit for the role without actually saying everything that you've said in the resume. So you don't have to say quantifiable data in the terms of that, oh, because of my partnership there was, let's say, dollar million or like $5 $5 million of sales, right? You don't have to say all of those things in the cover letter, but then give me an idea that you are that collaborative partner, or you have worked with external partnership that much, which has brought that kind of number to the company. um, I'm not sure if Soumya is there. Soumya, if you're there, then please drop the link. So, Aaron, what I want to do is like I have a cover letter template and I can drop the my website link and then they can find the cover letter and which exactly just speaks about what you and I have just spoken about. So, Soumya, if you're here, then drop it, but then otherwise I'll drop it by the end of it.
So,
Soumya is just my teammate, you guys.
sounds good. Sounds good. Uh, so let's take one more question on here, which is, well, Carl asked a question that could be a half a day seminar.
Okay.
How can job candidates reduce hiring biases, prejudices, and stereotypes for a job? I mean, that's true. I mean, I'm in Silicon Valley. I lived in Seattle
Yeah.
for 23 years. There are a lot of companies, tech companies, I think still, particularly for technical jobs,
Yep.
favor one gender over another, maybe ethnicity one over another. It's got a lot of challenges, but in a general sense, what is the best practices? What, as a recruiter, you're a recruiter. How what is the advice that you go through about biases? And then also in your response, if you could answer the question very quickly about
Yep.
referrals. How important are or references, I'm sorry,
Yep.
letters of recommendation and either on its own or as a within LinkedIn. I will say again, I'm a little old school. I still have written letters of recommendation to whom it's concerned. This candidate is great. They're wonderful, and they would be an added value to any company. And they've included that on the back of their resume. But I'll leave those two items to you.
Right. So one is biases. What do I do as a recruiter is call out whenever I hear any biases in the room. So, like for an example, if the hiring manager is specifically saying we want a female or a male candidate from that specific company, from that specific university, or with that specific knowledge, then we want to double tap into why do we want that, right? So, see, I have an understanding that it can be specific skill set to fill the gap in the team, but it can't be from a specific university, from a specific company. And then as a recruiter we would want to double tap on that. I've also created training modules for hiring managers or interviewers within these companies so that they can watch it and then understand where are these biases. A lot of time, Aaron, to be very honest, as an individual when we're speaking we don't even understand that this is a hiring bias until somebody points it out and be like, this is not what I meant, this is exactly what I meant, right? So one, calling out the biases as an individual is extremely helpful so that that reminds the other person, one, there is bias. Two, I mean, it's not going forward for me. Like I'm as a recruiter, I'm not going to do that to the whole bunch of candidate, to the pool of candidate that I have. That would be the first thing for the bias. You said letter of references and letter of recommendation. You've written one for me, and that's how I've got my first job. So I would say it's extremely important to write it. But then again, that depends on if you're going into a university or are you looking for an internship or are you looking for your first job. A lot of companies need it, want it. So have a good draft, have a good understanding of what you want the other person to write. If the other person has given you that open page, then have an understanding of what you want to be written. So like what do you want the employer to know about you as a candidate, and draft that really well. But a lot of companies don't ask for it, so if they don't ask for it, then don't give that information without asking. Only give it to them when they're asking. and make sure, like, so for an example, when I took it from Aaron, I made sure that he had an idea that, hey, somebody might call you. These are the details from my company. These are the people that I have submitted the, letter of references to. And if anybody calls, then, can you please handle it? I mean, do not keep them in the blind. And then they're like, oh, somebody called you. I didn't know they were calling for a job, right? They were just generally calling. So I gave very generic idea of who Shreya was, versus if he knew that they were calling for the job, then he would probably specifically talk about me as a professional. So make sure the person who's writing the LOR knows where are you submitting in, then should be expecting a call from where and when and how. And then make sure that your LOR has a good draft where it shows that you have these professional skills, and then you what kind of individual you are.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, back to Carl's question. I mean, we could talk about age
Yes.
discrimination. We can call, I mean, we might have to go back. By the way, today's session is being recorded. It'll be uploaded
Yay.
on YouTube. The link will be emailed out. It'll be on my LinkedIn page. I know Shreya will be on hers. So it'll be recorded. Shreya, do you have best practices or do's or don'ts? We've got two more. We could go a little bit more than 2 minutes past the hour, but I kind of want to give you the last 3 or 4 minutes here to kind of summarize best practices.
Are we talking about the best practices for the job search market, or
Yeah, the
what is the
job
best
search
practice?
market.
Okay, so best practices around job search market would be, first, have a primary resume which has all the keywords, and then if you have to, alter or edit your resume for 2 jobs per 10 jobs. That means if you're applying to 10 jobs, only edit your resume for the top 2 jobs, and then for the rest of 8, you should have a primary resume. Second, like Erin said in the beginning, it is not what you know, it is who you know, which is extremely important in this hybrid market. You definitely want to know people. You definitely want to set up credibility and authority. Third, extremely important, mindset. That means do not come from the mindset that I don't have anything to offer. I don't know what do I offer. Um, but why is nobody giving me a job? Sit with yourself, understand what is that you're sharing, your competencies, your work experience, have that belief that there are a lot of things that I bring to the table, and then start prepping for it. Because if you don't believe that, then that self doubt can be seen in your resume, LinkedIn, conversations, comments, and in fact, in your interview itself. For me, the biggest thing is be visible either to recruiters or people on LinkedIn. If they don't know you, then you're not getting that job. And know you doesn't have to be only through the resume. Referrals are also a way to know you. That means if you can find a referral, recruiter would see you first, then they would see the other 100 applicants in that pool, right? So this is how who you know. That means you find somebody who would know you, and then you've got the referral. Fourth and extremely important, have a cheat sheet. That means once you start your job search, have a cheat sheet. Write down everything that you think you bring to the table, your skills, your competencies, your tools, and what projects and experiences you want the interviewer to know about you, or you want any professional conversation to know about you, and then start from there. And please have an elevator pitch. If I ask you, if one of you had to unmute yourself and be like, who are you? I would see, I can guarantee 8 of you would buffer, right? And when I say buffer, you all of us know social media. So you'll keep buffering and you'll keep thinking, you'll be like, no, you've lost me. You've lost the opportunity. Have an elevator pitch. That means the first 30 seconds, you should be unforgettable. Like, this is what I do, this is what I bring to the table, and this is what I'm looking at. Super crisp. I took 2 minutes.
It's no, that's great. So we could go on much longer, but for the sake of everyone's time, thank you to all the attendees. Thank you to Shreya, and thank you to Patricia Bordejo, Silicon Valley Forum's CEO, for helping us put this together. And we will conclude it here. Connect with me, connect with Shreya on LinkedIn. We can further the conversation there. And wishing everyone a good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Bye bye.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks, Patricia. Thank you so much. And then I would love to connect on LinkedIn and answer your questions. We have the website and it has all the templates that you all need. So if not, then find me or Aaron again and we'll be happy to answer that. Thank you,
Thank,
Aaron. I
thank
loved
you,
it.
Shreya.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.